Hi there. Welcome to your maths lesson. Today we're going to be looking at the division of fractions. I'm going to start by just sharing my screen so that you can see the slides for today. Again, once these are uploaded onto Google Classroom, you will have the link there to today's lesson on YouTube. Okay, let's go. So that's the book reference for you, should you need it when we return to the classroom. Once again, I know I'm stating the obvious, you're doing all your work in your classwork book. If you've run out of space in your classwork book, please feel free to use another piece of paper or your homework book. You're going to copy down all the information in my instructional video exactly as I do when I write it out. You're going to complete the independent work. You're going to mark it and correct it using a green pen. If you've got any questions or comments, you can put them in the live chat or you can ask me via the Google Classroom. And you're going to upload your work at either 11:15 or 2:30. Okay, here is your starter. 3 minutes, off you go. Time's up. Right. So I did say more than happy for you to check your work with a calculator. I'm curious, what did you notice? Pop any comments in the live chat. Okay, here are your answers. So the answers to 1 and 3 are the same. The answers to 2, 4 and 5 are the same. Have a little think about why that might be. And you're now going to watch the instructional video. You're going to copy everything down as I go through the explanations, and then we will discuss it further later. Build it up from now. So we're going to start nice and easy. Okay, our first question, question 1, is 10 divided by 2. All happy with that? I've got 10. I divide it by 2 into 2 equal parts, and therefore my answer is 5. Now let's think if there's a different way we can look at this. I've got 10 and I've divided it into 2 equal parts. So often we will say with a question like that, I've halved it. I've halved 10 to get 5. Okay, so I could write half of 10 equals 5. How can I write that mathematically? Now we know from when we looked at multiplication that half of 10 can be written as half multiplied by 10. We also know that multiplication is commutative. That means that half multiplied by 10 is exactly the same as 10 multiplied by 1/2. So I can also write that as 10 multiplied 1/2. So let's compare what we've got again. We've got 10 divided by 2 equals 5. And we've got 10 multiplied by 1/2. Let's check and make sure that this equals 5 as well. So we would write this with 10 as an equivalent fraction with 1 as the denominator, multiplied by 1 over 2 gives me 10 over 2, which gives me 5. Okay, so we know that these two calculations are the same. 10 multiplied by 1/2 is the same as 10 divided by 2. Let me write that one other way. Okay, I'm just going to put it over here in a box. 10 multiplied by 1/2 is the same as 10 divided by 2 over 1. So let's have a look. I'm just going to put it in a little bubble there. And let's see what we've noticed. That multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. The way we would say that is dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of 2. So what is the reciprocal of a number? Let's write that down. That's a key point. Okay? So what is the reciprocal of a number? So the reciprocal of a number is 1 divided by the number. For example, the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. Okay, so another key point, use your highlighter pens, put a box around it, however you want to highlight it. I'm going to use a highlighter pen. Okay, so the reciprocal of a number is 1 divided by the number. Okay, let's think about what that means for a fraction then. Okay, so let's write that down. What is the reciprocal of a fraction? What is the reciprocal of a fraction? Okay. So the reciprocal of a fraction. It's the same thing, actually. It's 1 divided by the fraction, but we tend to write that much more simply. Is the fraction, and we say that it's been flipped upside down. So the numerator becomes the denominator, and the denominator becomes the numerator. So for example, the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. Okay, so the numerator becomes the denominator, and the denominator becomes the numerator. So let's do some more calculations to make that clear. Again, highlight the key points. I'm just going to highlight my example there, that the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. I'm going to have to move my book so there's a little bit more space for you to see what I'm writing. Okay, hopefully you can still see that. Okay. Right, so let's do another example. Question 2. I've got 4/9. I'm still at this point dividing it by a whole number. I'm going to divide it by 2. Now I know that I can write that as 4/9 divided by 2/1. It's exactly the same. Let's look at what I wrote. I know from my previous example that I can turn this into a multiplication, and I've got another definition I need to write down, but we know that dividing by 2 is the same as halving. We've worked that out already. So I can say that 4/9 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. I'm going to get 4 multiplied by 1 is 4. 9 multiplied by 2 is 18. And then I can simplify that down using equivalent fractions. I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 2 to give me 2/9. And some of you may have looked at cross-cancelling here as well. Okay, let's have a look and see what that looks like. So I start with 4/9, okay? And I'm dividing by 2. I'm halving my 4/9. So therefore, I have half as much as I had before. So I need to take half of it away, and I'm left with 2/9. So hopefully visually you can see that. Let's try another example and see what it looks like. Let's say that I now have 4/9, but I'm dividing by 1/2. I wonder what I do now. I'm dividing by 1/2. It was easy when I was dividing by 2 because I knew that was the same as halving it. Let's think again about this reciprocal, and as I say, we're going to get that definition down in a moment. I can write 4/9 as the same as multiplying by 2/1. That gives me 8/9. I can't simplify it. I can show you visually, and then we're going to write some sentences so that this makes sense. So this time, I started with 4/9, but I divided by 2. I divided by 1/2. Dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So it's the same as multiplying by 2/1. So I am therefore timesing by 2. I am doubling the amount of squares that are shaded, and I end up with 8 shaded cells out of 9 in total. And remember, with fractions, we always have to split into equal parts. So let's get some definitions down so that we know that this makes sense. We've got our definition for reciprocal, but our definition for dividing by fractions we need to write down now. So let's put a definition down. Definition: dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. Now, that is one of those key points that if you can memorize that, that is going to help you throughout your school life. Okay, dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. Now, some of you might have learned something called keep, change, flip, or Kentucky chicken fried. Keep calm, its fractions has also been used as well. And lots of children are taught the division of fractions this way. I am going to say how it works, but I'd really like you to focus on this definition here, and then you're much less likely to make a mistake because you've got the understanding that goes with it. So let's just look at, or we can use the same example here. So we've got 4/9 divided by 1/2. We write Kentucky chicken fried. K stands for keep, C stands for change, and F stands for flip. So we keep the 4/9 as it is. We change the division sign into a multiplication sign, and we flip. Remember, the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2/1. We multiply it out, multiplying the numerators to get 8, multiplying the denominators to get 9. So that is, it's a nice little technique to memorize, but it's really important that you have this understanding that goes with it and understand why it works. Dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal, in this case, multiplying by 2. Let's do a quick example using mixed numbers now. Oops. Okay, so question 4. Our mixed number example, I've got 2.5, and I'm dividing it by 3 1/3. Now you'll remember from when we looked at multiplication, we learned how important it was to always convert mixed numbers into improper fractions. We're going to write that down again. For division, always convert mixed numbers into improper fractions. Okay, really important technique. So remember that. I'm going to put it in one of my bubbles. For division, always convert mixed numbers into improper fractions. So let's do that to start with. Okay, 2 multiplied by 2 is 4 plus 1 gives me 5/2. 3 multiplied by 3 is 9 plus 1 gives me 10 divided by 3. Okay, now I know that division of a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. The reciprocal of 10/3 is 3/10. I have flipped my numerator and my denominator. Now I can then multiply this out. 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. 2 multiplied by 10 is 20. And then I can see if I can simplify it. I know that both of these numbers are in the 5 times table, so I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 5 to give me 3/4. You may also have noticed, remember we have talked about cross-cancelling, some students like it more than others, But if you wanted to use cross-cancelling, let's write it out again. It just makes the math slightly more simple because I can say that 5 divided by 5 is 1, 10 divided by 5 is 2, and then I can multiply straight out. 1 times 3 gives me 3, 2 times 2 is 4. I've got the same answer using cross-cancelling. So that's an option if you're comfortable using it. Okay, right. I just want to do a couple of quick questions with a little bit of a flashback. So I'm just going to write flashback, negative numbers. Okay. So we're just going to do four quick examples here, nice and simple to start us off. Okay, so A, I've got 1/2 multiplied by 1/4. That gives me 1/8. Okay, let's have a look at 1/2 multiplied by a negative quarter. I've got a positive multiplied by a negative. That's going to give me a negative 1/8. I've now got that's B. For C, I've got a negative 1/2 multiplied by a positive quarter. Again, a negative multiplied by a positive gives me a negative 1/8. Finally, if I have a negative 1/2 multiplied by a negative quarter, that's going to give me a positive 1/8. Okay, just remember, a negative multiplied by a negative will result in a positive. Exactly the same thing applies for division. So if I had 1/2 divided by 1/4, that's the same as 1/2 times by 4/1, which is going to give me, can you read that? Just about 2. For F, this time I've got a 1/2. I'm dividing it by a negative quarter. It's the same as saying 1/2 multiplied by a negative 4/1, which is going to give me negative 2. For G, you get the picture now. There's a lot of patterns in maths and they do really help. If you're not sure on something, often if you write it down, the pattern will help you see what the solution is going to be. I've got a negative 2 just squashed on the end there. And finally, if I have a negative 1/2 divided by a negative quarter, that's going to leave me with negative 1/2 multiplied by negative 1/4. 4/1, sorry, I'm rushing, gives me a positive 2, because a negative multiplied by a negative gives us a positive. Okay, so you can see why I did the multiplication first, because we're taking a division calculation and we're turning it into a multiplication. So that's your flashback for negative numbers. Finally, a quick flashback for order of operations. Again, I'm going to have to just move my book a little bit so you can see. Okay, so a quick question here. Right, the last question that we're going to be looking at. I've got 2 1/2. I'm adding 4 1/3, and I'm dividing by 3 1/4. Now, if I'm remembering my order of operations, brackets, indices, division and multiplication are of equal importance, so I move from left to right, and then finally addition and subtraction, also of equal importance. So I work from left to right. So my division is more important than my addition. So I must do the division first. Okay, so I'm going to do my division first. And then once I've done that bit, I'm going to substitute it back into the original question and we can work out our answer. So I've got 4 1/3 divided by 3 1/4. I'm going to turn them into improper fractions. So I have 13 divided by 3 divided by 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1, 13 over 4. I know that dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. The reciprocal of 13 over 4, I flip them over, is 4 over 13. I've now got a choice. I can either multiply my numerators and multiply my denominators, or I can do a bit of cross-cancelling. If I'm not comfortable with cross-cancelling, I'll just do 13 multiplied by 4 gives me 52. Divided by 3 times 13 is 39. And I can simplify that down. I know they're both in the 13 times table. That takes me down to 4 over 3. If I did do the cross-cancelling, you can see 13 divided by 13 is 1. And I'd go straight to 4 over 3. Okay, so I've got 4 over 3 as my answer. I'm not going to turn it back into a mixed number at the moment. I'm going to go back to my original question now. Don't get to this point, think I've worked really hard and stop. Go back and check. Oh yeah, I've still got 2.5 to add on. So now I'm going to do the addition. So I'm going to write the question out again. 2.5 plus 4 1/3 divided by 3 1/4. I now know that equals 2.5 plus, we know that 4 1/3 plus 3 1/4 is 4 over 3. I'm now going to convert this into an improper fraction, which is going to give me 5 over 2 plus 4 over 3. Remember, for addition of fractions, I must have a common denominator. In this case, I can multiply the two numbers together, which gives me 6. So an equivalent fraction of 5 over 2, I've multiplied by 2 by 3 to get 6. So 5 multiplied by 3 is going to give me 15. I know that 3 multiplied by 2 gives me 6. So 4 multiplied by 2 gives me 8. 15 plus 8 is 23 divided by 6. I can leave that as an improper fraction if I want. The question hasn't asked me whether or not to leave it as an improper fraction or convert it back. But just for completeness, I'm going to say that 6 goes into 23 3 times with 5 remainder. So my final solution is 3 5/6. I hope that's been useful. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint. Let's see where we're at. Right, something's gone wrong here. Hold on. There we go. Right, so dividing by a whole number. Just showing you visually, if 3/5 of chocolate is shared equally amongst 4 children, so we're dividing the chocolate by 4. So this is the section of chocolate that's going to be eaten, and it's going to be split into 4 equal parts. I'll show you on the next slide. There it is, split into 4 equal parts this way. You can see that the calculation that we're actually doing, dividing by 4, is the same as multiplying by 1/4, with the answer being 3, 1, 2, 3 out of 20. Okay, so the reciprocal of a fraction A over B is the fraction B over A, and an example being The reciprocal of 3/5 is 5/3. You don't necessarily need to copy that down. You've got all the key information from the instructional video. Again, you don't need to worry about copying this down. The video has covered everything off, but it's just a useful reference for you should you need it. Okay, so you've got 3 minutes to look at these 4 questions. Good luck. Time's up. Okay, now hopefully I'm giving you enough time to make sure you're writing the question as well as the answer. Just writing the answers is not going to help you. You want the whole sentence just to remind and reinforce in your mind what we're learning here. So the reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. The reciprocal of 2/7 is 7/2, or we could convert it into a mixed number, 3.5. The reciprocal of 10 is 1/10. And the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3/1, which obviously we can write as 3. Again, you should have this sentence written down in your notes. You don't need to write it down again. Again, you shouldn't need any of that, but it's there just if you ever need to look over it again as reference material. Okay, 4 minutes for these questions. Right, how did you get on with these questions? I'm going to show you two different methods for answering these. Firstly, looking at the division of a fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. We have 6/7 multiplied by 1/3 gives us 6/21 simplified down to 2/7. Obviously, you could cross cancel here if you wish. Secondly, 3/8 divided by 6/1, 3/8 multiplied by its reciprocal, which is 1/6, gives us 3/48 simplified to 1/16. Again, if you wanted to, you could cross cancel here. But there's another way I want to show you as well, which I didn't cover in the video. You wouldn't necessarily use it all the time, but it's just handy to just know that this is available to you as well. Let's have a look at this. If I write it as 6 divided by 3, 6 divided by 3, and 7 divided by 1, 7 divided by 1. Look how simple it is. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 7 divided by 1 is 7. My answer is 2/7. Similarly here, it's a little bit trickier because 3 divided by 6 gives me a half or 0.5. 8 divided by 1 gives me 8. And then I need to use equivalent fractions, so multiplying the numerator and the denominator by 2 to give me 1/16. So just a useful additional method that you might like. 5 minutes for these questions. Time's up. Okay, let's go through the answers. So you have 2/7, 1/7, 2 over 11 and 2 over 33. So for example, if you looked at this one, this probably isn't one where you would use that method of doing 6 divided by 9 and 11 divided by 1. You could, but you probably wouldn't. You'd probably stick to the original method that we looked at here. Okay. Take a 15-minute break. So pause the video now, take your break. When you're ready, come back. I'm going to keep going. So you just need to restart when you return. Okay, you have 4 minutes to work through these quick questions. And I want you to also think about, what do you notice? Can you see any patterns? Have a go. Okay. So what do you notice? Again, hopefully you're getting the idea now. Dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. Okay, you don't need to copy this down. You've got the keynotes from our earlier video. I just wanted to show you this very quickly. This is just a bar model. It's a visual representation of dividing by a fraction. So we have 3/5 of a cake here, and each boy has 1/10 of the whole cake. Okay, so these represent tenths of the cake. Obviously there's 2 more tenths here, 2 more tenths here. All right, so the question is, how many boys are there? Now that, without a bar model, is a really, really difficult question to get your head around. And frankly, it's quite hard even with the bar model. But by drawing it out, we can see that this is the amount of cake that was shared. We know that each boy had 1/10. So therefore, we can see that there are 6. Let's have a look at the calculation. 3/5 divided by 1/10 is the same as 3/5 multiplied by 10. So the answer is 6. There are 6 boys. All right, you have 10 minutes to work through these. I've asked you to do the A column first. All right, so you're going to do these 8 questions here, and then if you have time, then move on to the B column. You've got 10 minutes. Good luck. Okay, so first 4 questions. Here are your answers. Please pause the video and mark your work. Remember, if you just did the A column, you're doing 1A and 1C. Okay. Want you to have another 15-minute break or so, because there's a lot in this session and you need to make sure that you keep your brain refreshed, and you also have a little bit of a break from your screen time as well. And when you're finished with that break, we will do the last part of the lesson. All right, you have 10 minutes to complete these questions. You're going to do the A column of question 5, then you're going to look at questions 6, 7 and 8. If you've got time, you can do these 2 as well. That says 5, by the way, 5/9. 10 minutes, off you go. Okay, let's go through the answers. Okay, question 5, I asked you to do A and C first. So 1/3 for A and 13/27 for C. And then complete marking the rest of your questions. Pause it if you need more time. Next set of questions. Another 10 minutes. Okay, you're going to do the A column first. Then you're going to do this question 11 and then come back to this B column again if you have time. 10 minutes. Okay, your time's up. Again, please feel free to pause it if you need more time. I'm going to bring up the answers now. Okay, so there are your answers for questions 9, 10 and 11. Pause it so you can mark and correct your work. Okay, so there's 2 Hegarty Maths quizzes to do. As always, at the moment, whilst we're in lockdown, you do not need to do the videos. You are just doing the quizzes, and you can do them in your classwork book. That's absolutely fine. You've got 10 minutes to attempt quiz number 70 up to 3 times. You can do it now, or you can do it later as homework. I'm going to move on now. Just got a few more questions and then we're done. Okay, so 2 challenge questions here and another 10 minutes. Okay, how did you get on with those questions? All right, so for question 12, we've got 12A is 14, 12B is 1/8. And obviously there's a number of different solutions that you can have for question 13. One example is 2.5 and 1 2/3. So to finish off, you have one more quiz to do, quiz number 71. I just want to explain something on this quickly before you do it. It's called Reciprocal of Fractions. Now, we've talked about dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. But one thing I do just want to mention, and it is in the video if you want to watch the Hegarty video, but let me just explain quickly now. So if I'm dividing by 3, that's the same as multiplying by 1/3. And if I take 3 and I multiply it by 1/3, I'm going to get 1. And that is always the case. You can practice with any number you want. Choose the number 12. The reciprocal of it is 1/12. 12 multiplied by 1/12 gives you 1. Works with fractions as well. 2/3. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. 2/3 multiplied by 3/2 is going to give you 1. So have a little play around with those. Have a go at the Hegarty quiz. And then, oh, I've forgotten to put the last slide in. As you know, you just need to upload your work at 11:15 or 2:30. And that's it. Have a fabulous evening, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much.